The Fantastic Four trailer is finally here and somehow lived up to all of the expectations. Things I've been dying to see as an MCU fan, and subtle but pretty game-changing Easter eggs for the future of the MCU, all in under a minute and 30 seconds. So here, I'll be breaking down and giving my reaction to the trailer, along with giving you everything we know about the film so far, so let's get into it. Okay, so there's a lot to break down in this trailer. I think the best way to go about it is kind of just go frame by frame throughout the entire trailer. For starters, the whole first half of the trailer is really just our first look at most of the character things that are going on. Our first look at Thing just being this blatant is really, really cool.
Yeah,
oh my god.
Okay.
We saw those couple of pictures on sets that they're doing reference for lighting and stuff like that. I think this looks cool. I never expected the Thing to look amazing, and I think it just looks as good as possible. Really, in my opinion, all of the CGI thus far looks good, except for 2 shots, and we'll get into that in a second. So far, I absolutely love the vibes of what this trailer is going for, from the score to the aspect ratio to the color grading. It looks like there is actual flavor going on here, and I think that is because this is set in an alternate timeline. This isn't in our main MCU, and I'll get into more of those details later because I do want to talk about how this obviously affects Avengers Doomsday and stuff like that. But so far, I think the vibes and I think the characters and these dynamics do feel different than what we would have in the MCU as a Fantastic Four team or an Avengers team in the current political scope of what is happening in the MCU after Endgame and Infinity War and stuff like that. This does feel like a different universe. They are not messing it up on that front. And then we get a really quick shot of Reed working on a mathematical equation on a chalkboard, and in the background we can see that it looks to be he's working on some sort of multiversal tunnel. He marks the entrance of it and the exit of it, and then he says it is another universe. We know that Galactus is one of the villains in this film. He's also known as the destroyer of planets. So I'm thinking the planet that this movie takes place in, the universe that this movie takes place in, will be destroyed by the end of the film. We obviously don't know when this scene takes place, but it seems to be that Reed is working on some sort of solution on how to defeat Galactus. We also know that the Robert Downey Jr. version of Doctor Doom is probably going to be from this Fantastic Four universe, and so that's also how he could interact with our main MCU, this multiversal bridge that Reed is creating. Here we have some of our first looks at the, main origin of the Fantastic Four, and also a shot of when they're first turning, when Sue first turns invisible, but when they're getting affected by all of these space particles. We get our first look at the actual Fantastic Four suit, and I think this is just going to be the Fantastic Four team. This isn't going to be anything like the 2005 movie from what I can tell. And this is our first shot where we actually get to see Sue's powers, and I think in this shot it actually looks really, really interesting. But there's another shot later in the film where it doesn't look great, and I think that later shot is probably going to be somewhere near the final battle. We obviously know that this is during the opening or sometime when we're actually getting to see their origin. Actually, now that I think about it, this whole entire opening credits, this is all in a square aspect ratio, and it was as well at the San Diego Comic-Con teaser trailer announcement. So I think that this could possibly be opening credits, and then they lead us into full CGI, actual them gaining powers moment, but it's not necessarily a big origin thing. And then we get our Ben Grimm origin story, which this looks absolutely phenomenal. I mean, more this shot than anything else. Really, the street shots, even from the teaser trailer, have given us an amazing vibe of the film. And again, this all goes back to taking place in a separate universe than the MCU. I genuinely think that this, even just this frame alone, is crafted so well. Maybe I'm just looking into the details too much, but even when you look at a teaser trailer like Superman, it does that so well. It builds this world. It feels so immersed. This doesn't feel gray. It doesn't feel washed out. It feels like there is an actual set behind him. And I know the bar is so low for modern MCU movies. I just think this looks absolutely fucking phenomenal. You obviously see Ben reminiscing on the past a little bit, but then we get to our first shot of Johnny Storm, and this transition is absolutely awesome. I mean, it looks like the 2005 movie, just modernized, but I think it looks absolutely great. The New York City skyline, I think this is awesome. And then we have my favorite dialogue from the entire trailer. It comes from Sue while she's basically narrating the whole thing, where she says,
Ben has always been a rock.
Johnny is Johnny.
I think this perfectly encapsulates the whole family aspect of the Fantastic Four. And then on top of that, I also do think that it proves that Vanessa Kirby's Sue Storm is just going to be the core of this film. She was talking about all of these motherly elements to Sue Storm and how she really brings the family together. I think this trailer focuses on her a lot in a great way. And then we have our first better look at Sue Storm as Invisible Woman. It looks a little reminiscent of the bridge fight scene in 2005 Fantastic Four. I don't know if that's what they are going for. And it's not that the CGI looks bad or it's the background per se that is horrible, but you can just kind of tell the color difference between everything looks a little bit off. I'm not really sure if I like the coloring of her powers, but it seems like it'll be something that goes along with like the whole coloring changing particles and stuff like that, so that'll be interesting. We can also see the Fantastic Car in the background, which we also saw a different shot of in the trailer. I don't know, this definitely seems like an introductory battle or something where we actually get to see everyone's powers, because the destruction is big but not Galactus big, so we'll see that in a second here. And then we get a shot of the whole Fantastic Four team just staring out into the New York City skyline, and I think that this is just going to be a moment where Galactus is arriving. It seems like a bunch of comets coming down from the sky. They're all standing outside the Fantastic Four building. But what was most interesting to me was actually the shots after this, where you see a bunch of kids in the Thing masks. And I think, first of all, the whole idea of Thing masks is super interesting, because obviously Ben Grimm doesn't want to be the Thing, and it is like a mask over his face. And all these costumes and shirts of Fantastic Four characters. I think living in this world of pre-existing heroes is so cool, and the fact that these are the only heroes in this version of the MCU, in this timeline, in this universe, is so fucking amazing. And I think this is the perfect way to execute introducing the Fantastic Four. And it's just the fact that they're dressed up as the Thing. If it's Johnny Storm or Mr. Fantastic, it's something different, but it's the Thing, the one dude that is afraid of all of his looks. I think this is so good. And then we get our next shot of the Fantastic Car. And then we get more Johnny Storm flying through the city. And then we get into this fight scene, which looks similar to the Sue Storm one that we saw earlier, just the more gray destruction. I think this all looks great. It's a little bit gray, yes, but I'd rather it be like it's a good in between, and it still feels like it's matching the vibes. And I think that the first half of this film will definitely be more lighthearted and funny. And I think I like the vibes of this trailer, and I hope that's what is translated to the film. Like, you start on some cool retro futuristic vibes, and it's not that you get modern by the end, but you still do have to have like a level of seriousness that doesn't necessarily come with, oh, happy, giddy, retro vibes, you know? And then we get to the very first thing that I mentioned about this trailer, and that is this old man that just shows up. This is the most out of place shot of the entire trailer, but after more reading into it, apparently this is Ivan Kragnov, aka the Red Ghost, who is one of the oldest Fantastic Four villains, one of the arch nemesis of Reed Richards. And even though Galactus is going to be an overall villain of this film, we saw that comet storm, we also saw a shadow of him, which we'll get to in just a second here. I think this is a really interesting, like, humanized villain, because obviously we know that they're not going to necessarily focus on Doom in this film at all. But this film does lead into Avengers Doomsday, so I feel like they need somewhat of a villain that'll kind of work as a throwaway villain to an extent. I think this movie already has so much to balance, because you already have to give the Fantastic Four so many stakes. You have to make us care about every single ounce of their relationship. This film leads directly into Avengers Doomsday, so it's not that it doesn't need to end on a happy note, but it needs to end with some sort of aura. Some sort of, not necessarily defeat, but excitement and intrigue in a kind of hopeless way against the bigger, badder Doctor Doom. And so I think having Red Ghost here as a villain, if hopefully this is who it is really interesting, because he tries to replicate what gave the Fantastic Four their powers, but he is a Russian scientist who tried to replicate how the team got their powers. So I think that's all we really know for now. We also don't have an official casting on this. This is all just rumors and speculation, but I think if it is this case for this character, I wouldn't mind that. I think it's really, really interesting. And then we get another look at Reed. This looks like it is in space. He looks like he's holding someone or something. So he could probably just be when they're originally getting their powers. He's still in that same astronaut suit that we saw earlier with that Fantastic Four logo there again. And then we get our first look at Galactus. So we get this whole like like shadow of Galactus over this New York City. And I really think this is a cool setting. I know a lot of people have complained about it. I think it's really, really interesting. But then obviously we have our classic Galactus silhouette, and I think that's done perfectly. And then we have our first look at Galactus himself, actually at a San Diego Comic-Con teaser trailer. I think just this past summer, we got our first look at Galactus, and it's not that great of a look at all whatsoever. I actually don't even know if I can share it on screen. I will try to link it. But we actually get to see our first, like, look at the eyes, like the stretched face. He was like the size of a building, and it was crazy. I'm kind of glad that they didn't reveal a first look, because this teaser focuses so much on the vibes of it, the aura, and actually just letting us understand the characters of the Fantastic Four rather than focusing on all of the villains. But we get our look at him. Looks really great. Looks really textured. I think that was my biggest fear, was that it was going to be like some big blob, kind of like what MODOK was. And MODOK gave me a lot of fear for what they were going to do for Galactus. But this looks great in my opinion. So this is our, like, I guess just, oh, this is so cool. Oh man. Oh man. Holy shit. Holy shit.
As a family.
This is our first team shot of the Fantastic Four. I think this looks absolutely amazing. And in the background here, obviously the score is just screaming Fantastic Four. I think everything about this trailer is just brilliantly put together. There's only a couple of other little small things that I want to mention coming off of this trailer. The first one being, we still haven't gotten our first look at Silver Surfer. Julia Garner is going to be playing Silver Surfer, the female version of that character, which does exist in the comics. I'm really, really excited. I absolutely love that character, and I think that is such an interesting addition. Obviously, since we know that we have that human villain as well as Galactus, I'm also really, really interested to see how Avengers Doomsday plays into this. That film starts shooting within the next month or two, so it is really, really interesting to see where that's going to go, just because Fantastic Four itself went through so many delays, so many rewrites, so many not production issues, but I guess more so pre-production issues, because once this movie started filming, they knew exactly what they had to do. They knew exactly what story they had dialed in, because it finished filming in the span of normal months. Like, normally MCU movies nowadays are getting so many rewrites, reshoots, changing directors and writers midway through actual production, but it seems like it was really difficult to just get this film off the ground, and I guess really just perfect the vision that they were going for. Now that this vision is done, I do hope they're able to streamline this a little bit more for Avengers Doomsday, because I don't want them doing like 7 months of reshoots on this shit like they did for Captain America Brave New World. So I'm really, really interested to see how that connects. I really don't think we're going to get many teases of Doom at all whatsoever in the actual teaser trailer, or actual trailer one either, but I really hope to see more of Galactus in the next trailer, and just more of the Fantastic Four in action, because I think the only one we haven't seen so far is Reed Richards stretching, and I think that's just because they're probably dialing in the CGI. But so far, everything looks amazing. I've been gushing about this film the entire video. I absolutely love this trailer. I cannot believe they pulled it off. So excited to see more of this film. With that being said, let me know what you guys thought of the Fantastic Four First Steps teaser trailer in the comments down below. Subscribe for more trailer reviews, reactions, breakdowns, and movie reviews. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you next time. Peace.